This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friend Maryse Cardin. Hi, Maryse. How are you?
Hi, Kathy. How are you? I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. I am so excited because we get to talk about your new book, Self-Talk Love for Sensitives, Ease Anxiety and Awaken to the Gifts of Being a Highly Sensitive Woman, which I think even if men are listening, they might benefit from it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I've heard from several men already who have gotten the book and have gotten out of it, a lot out of it. And I was surprised because the subject matter is for all sensitives.
Right.
But even with the title, men are going for it. And that just shows how wonderful sensitive men are too, right? Like
Right.
they know.
Right. Well, I think that this is the perfect time to have a book like this. As I've been saying, we're going through so many energetic changes, and I really think empathy is being empathetic is and an empath is part of the first stages of awakening. And what's going to happen is people are going to start to feel things and not know how, not have the toolkit to navigate this new energy and this new life. So let's talk a little bit about how you got started, because this is your third or fourth book in a series about self-talk. So do you want to talk a little bit about the journey to here?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, as you say, this is my third or fourth book. And I've been very interested in, because communication's always been my field. I'm a communication professor. I've done a lot of research in it. I had a communication agency. So I know how powerful words are, right? But it was always an external thing. How do you communicate to audiences? How do you deliver, let's say, a speech? But when I started to realize the difference it can make in your life when you start speaking to yourself with more love, with more compassion and more patience, I was amazed at the difference that it made in my whole life. It's like nothing that I could achieve or do in the outside ever brought me, what I was looking for, which was more inner peace and more love. But interestingly too, like it works so well. It's quite easy. It's like a gateway to more self-love. But we understand words because when, let's say you're meeting your best friend, you speak to that person in a certain way. Like, how do you speak to your best friend when you get
How
together?
well, usually hugging first,
Yeah.
or virtual hugging, or a version of that, and of course, then it's excitement. Actually,
Mm.
see, that's the thing, is that the energy right now, people are so caught up in this external. Actually, it sucks energy right out of you. And what this other does is bring it like the kid like excitement
Mm.
and fun in, right?
Yeah, so it's an excitement, it's a joy, it's a presence, like you're fully present with the person, right? And so the way you communicate with your best, showing them, you're there, you're listening, you're joyous, you tell them, I'm so happy to see you. And so and how good that feels to your friend and how good it feels to you when your friend talks and communicates that way to you. And that's what we can do with our own selves. Like we don't have to wait for that meeting with our best friend to feel actual excitement to be with someone who loves us and who's pretty awesome, which is ourselves, right?
Right. Well, I have to say, part of the reason I was so excited to get to know you is that I noticed at the very beginning of COVID, because I had this beautiful three room office, and I had it set up just the way I wanted it, and people had painted and put crystals in the paint on the walls and put all these beautiful sayings in it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a sanctuary, and
Yeah.
I had to close it. And all of a sudden, I'm at home and I'm working at the desk that I'm at right now,
Yeah.
and I hear myself say, "Why were you? Why that was stupid? Why'd you do that?" I heard myself criticizing myself. I had no idea I was doing that.
Yeah.
And I think people don't even realize it's such a pattern and a habit that people don't even realize they're doing it, right?
Yeah, that's so true. I didn't realize for a long time. Now I'll catch myself pretty fast, right? But you're right, it is a habit. Like the first time that when I really got interested in this, it was I woke up one morning and I had been out the night before, just with a good group of friends, but we had stayed out late at a dinner party and had wine and had a great time. And I woke up in the morning and immediately I started criticizing myself. You know, you're so tired now and you slept in, the whole day's shot. Why did you do that? But at that moment, I caught it and I thought, if anybody else spoke to me like that as I woke up, was right in my face and would tell me, like, I would ask them to leave or I would ask them to shut up. I wouldn't, but I thought it was okay that I would. So that morning, I heard the voice, like you did about your office. And then I asked it to stop, and it did. And then I replaced it with another voice saying, you know, it's okay. You're allowed to go out and have a nice time with your friends. And, you know, have a great Sunday. And there's nothing wrong. And you're fine. And you're great. And I started realizing that I actually wasn't that voice. I was the one who heard it. Right?
Right.
I was the one who listened to it. And so the first thing is to become kind of aware of what we're saying. Right? Because when you do, you realize, wow, there's no way that I deserve anybody speaking to me like this, especially not the voice that's the closest, the voice that I hear the most, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I hope that you have now found some peace into your new. I've only known you in the new office. And so for me, I love this space you're in anyway, right?
Yeah. Well, my other space was people would come in and sometimes the energy was too much for them because I had so many crystals and everything. And so it's still, I'm still futzing with this one to get to the vibe. Well, it's got a good vibe, but it's not like that was like sanctuary. But I think that there's a lot of people that are right now because of the high contrast of what's going on. I mean, you're in Canada, I'm here in Colorado in the US, and the world is really seeing a choice point. Everyone is. And so that's why I think your book and the idea that sensitives have I think, a very important role in all the changes that we've got coming. Do you agree?
Oh, I so agree. I think that more than ever we're needed, right? Like if anything, our time has come, right? Because we bring such gifts to it. And that's something that you say, it's so important to realize that when you're sensitive, like whether it's something new, like you said, more and more people are waking up to having these like powers and these gifts, or whether you've had it your whole life, but you're still not sure what's going on with you and how to manage it. And the thing is to think about that. It's not a question of hiding. It's not a question of trying to just protect yourself all the time. Like this is a moment where we can use what we have and actually be of great service to ourselves and to others, because we're capable of seeing and feeling and also sending out this energy that for other people, it takes a lot more for them to feel it and to realize it and to manage it. We can very quickly tune in to what's really happening in the world. And I'm not talking about the words and what people are saying on the outside, right? We're talking about that energy that we can so easily feel and know when it's right and when it's love. And when, you know, when it's time to maybe shift something or let something go, it's like we know this deep inside ourselves. We're built for this. So it's not an accident we're like this. We're made like this by design. And I have been meeting people. You told me about that, but I had never met. But now I've been meeting people who have become like this. And so I thought, wow, this book is really, this is the time for this book, because whether you're new at it or you've lived your whole life at it, I want you to know that, like you said, this is our time. We're really needed, right? We're really important. We're not just, you know, we're not just here to get through. We're very important to this time.
Oh, of course. We are more than the canary in the coal mine.
Mm-hmm.
We are, and this is what I'd like to suggest is another part of it. And I hope you agree and will elaborate on it.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that metaphysically, energetically, the veils of perception of reality are very thin, if not gone, and that our imagination is the key to what we create, and that's what is beautiful about humans is we are creative, and amazing beings, co-creating with the universe. Well, I think sensitives could lead the charge on creativity, on problem solving, on using your imagination, because this past time has shut us down. And this is like this opening, this opportunity. Do you agree with that?
I really agree with you. We're masters at doing that. We're masters at getting into an energy and a feeling of something and imagine seeing what it could be like, right? So the more of us that start seeing this new world, right? A world where there's way more compassion and gentleness,
Right.
and fairness, and it's much lighter too, and it's energy and way more fun in a way, because we can be much lighter in it. The more of us imagine it and feel it, the quicker it comes into being, right?
Exactly. That's what I mean by the veils being gone. Because those were constructs that we created in the past, that either were programmed from our parents, that kept us safe. It was fine to have them, but now the energy that is coming in, the galactic energy. This isn't me just being sensitive feeling it. The whole solar system is being upgraded. And so there's an opportunity to really embrace this idea of being a sensitive and being a superpower. It's
Yeah, you're right. It
right.
is. Look, that's why every time I read my book, or I even hold it, I'm so in love with it, because it's things that I'd always kind of wanted to know about myself or feel about myself and know. And you're completely right that it's almost a time where we can celebrate this. It's like if you had a special skill in your whole life, you weren't even sure how you were supposed to use it or what it was for. Or was it even a skill, or was it, some sensitive things, even it's a curse that they're that way, that it's too difficult to be. And suddenly they say, hey, you're needed, right? We need the exact people with your skill. It's like, so I wanted this book to be about, a celebration of us too, right? What makes us so awesome and what makes us so unique in our ways, and also some little tools on how you can manage this high sensitivity, right?
Right.
So just to go back to basic, what does it mean to you to be highly sensitive, Kathy? Like for you, what does that mean when you think about that?
I can read a environment really quickly and figure out the best way to exist in it. So if I'm in a restaurant, I can figure out which table that I want to sit at because of the way it feels. I can actually sense the energy coming from people in the room and see if I want to. And sometimes that's why you pick the other table, is there's not good energy from the people sitting there. There's so many opportunities to connect with nature in a totally different way and be delighted. I was up in the mountains 3 weeks ago, and I was sitting by this lake, and this bird almost landed on my shoulder. It was like, it wasn't scared of me at all. So that's what I'm saying, is when you're simply delighted in your environment rather than being on guard in your environment, all sorts of wonderful gifts come in. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because there's things that are universal with highly sensitive people, but there's also such a personal experience of how you live it and what delights you most about it. And one of that is this ability to connect so deeply with nature, right? And so deeply with art and music, and so many things touch us so deeply. And I have that too when I'm out in nature and I'm very, very relaxed, and it's with dogs. Even like they will always come, and dog owners are like, my dog's never done this before. Like the dog will come back when the owner's calling in, but they'll come and try to jump on me or touch me, or like it happens all the time. If I'm in the forest, especially in a forest, and if I come out and I'm feeling that, just that connection with the trees, if there's a dog around, it will come and
Well,
jump. Go
Don't
ahead.
you think that's actually because as a sensitive, you can feel the environment and align to it, whereas if you're not aware, you're using a lot of energy in the environment to keep your boundaries. But if you're sensitive, you don't have to even have boundaries in that environment.
That's right. That's right. And also, I really want the book to be about validating that it's true. I mean, sometimes sensitive feel these things and they're like, oh, I'm just imagining it, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or there's something that's kind of wrong with me, or this is not really what things are. So to really think that if you feel that, it's really happening. It's really true,
Right.
right? It's like you can see a color that other people can't see, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that what's happening now is that people are starting to find each other, validate each other, because I mean, a lot of this stuff that anybody that has paranormal psychic ability, because it is almost that. Um, it is that for me anyway. They have been around other people that didn't have any of those skills. And so they felt different. They felt alone, or they felt that they didn't have words. They couldn't communicate very well, but they knew in their gut um, to walk this way and not that. They knew things. I mean, do you agree with that, or do you see this as a time period that more and more people are going to recognize that they're sensitive?
Well, I think both. I think
Okay.
more and more people will recognize it, but I think it's innate, like you say, you didn't have the words, especially those of us who were brought up by parents who weren't highly sensitive, or parents who were, but they weren't sure how to deal with it. They were trying to shut it down, and or they were numbing so that they wouldn't feel all these things. We still knew things instinctively, like you knew which person you wanted to go sit next to, right?
Right.
Even if you have never met the person, suddenly you were so drawn to just want to sit there. Or you would go by yourself and sit by a tree, or like it just would happen. Nobody would have to teach you that, right? When you followed your instincts, you knew when something felt peaceful and loving and right. And you knew when there was an energy that suddenly you couldn't have put words to it, but you knew, whoa, I'm not safe here. There's something that's going on underneath the surface, or mommy's saying these words that she's happy, but really it doesn't
Yeah.
feel that way to me, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So to start to realize that you always know now. So even if someone's saying something and it doesn't match the energy, maybe you don't know why the energy is like that, but you can trust your ability to read the energy, even if you don't understand the story around it, right? That's something that's taken me a long time to think. Forget the story. You may never know why,
Right.
but
Right.
trust that you're feeling something here that isn't right for you.
So where do you think when did you come to the trust? Because I did at like 8, really young. I mean, I kept wondering what the game was and how to play it here. And I knew no one else saw or felt what I mean, I found out pretty quickly, better shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because they would think you were crazy if you said stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, very young too. I have a lot of memories of feeling and experiencing it like you, and you figure out how to navigate things, right? But it was only really as an adult that I came into it, that I embodied it more, that I got curious about it, that I found out that there was a word for it and there was research around it, because, Dr. Elaine Aron and others have done all this great research about it,
Yes.
right? So that we see the brain is wired differently. We're made like this. And it's a lot of us. It's like, almost 20% right now in every group on earth and in animals, right?
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what it's a gift, not a curse. And that's the other reason that the self-talk is so important, because if you haven't really realized what a gift you are and this superpower, I'm going to still call it a superpower because I really feel it is. I mean, I I remember as a little girl watching something happen and saying to myself, don't they realize that what the outcome's going to be? Because they didn't see, they couldn't see the energy of it. They couldn't sense that um, uh, claiming that you're sick or you have a sickness gives you that sickness. They couldn't see all of that. Whereas as a sensitive, it was like, okay, well, if that's how you want to play the game,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's the thing to remember too, right? Is to let other people carry what they need to carry and have their lessons. And because we feel it. I, for instance, thought, okay, it was my job to save everyone. So I was like, you know what? I'll take it for you. Don't worry. Put it on my back, right? Let me lift you up and let me take it. And of course, I'm not built to carry everybody's right situation, and I'm not doing anybody any good by doing that, because they don't get to grow, they don't get to learn, they don't get to experience things. So now I'm a lot more, even though I'll feel how difficult it might be for someone else, I want to be there as support, I want to keep space, I want to love them, but I'm really think about, okay, what's mine, what's not mine, right? How can I just be with them without thinking, oh, I'm gonna save you, or I'm gonna take this from you, or because I can feel what's going on. No, to just be more comfortable with other people living their lives how they want to lead them, right? Lead them in making their decisions, and just love without wanting to change, right?
Well, that's part of the beauty of your book, and all of your self-talk books, is that it is about self-love. And we really aren't taught this. This really isn't in, at least in my experience, I haven't seen it in very many religions. You really have to somehow have a an inspiration, a guide, a mentor, somebody to help you really activate this self-love and take it away, especially as women, take it away from being selfish.
Yeah, that's so crazy when we think about it, huh?
Yeah.
Because everything starts with love, everything is made of love. So to deny yourself the biggest source of energy in the world, right? To cut it off, cut yourself off from it, is just so just puts you in a position where you're putting a blindfold and trying to go through life, right? Whereas you take off the blindfold just by deciding you're going to be kind to yourself, and you can start with small things, kind words, and catching the way you speak to yourself, and just keep putting love in and keep putting love in. And then you realize that things start to really shift for you inside and outside, and for the other people around you. And it was as simple as putting in the love first, right? As opposed to, oh, could love myself if only I hadn't done this. Or I'll love myself after I lose 30 pounds, right? It's like the love comes first, and then the 30 pounds are much easier to let go of after, right? Because you're just loving yourself, and you want to care for yourself, and you want to put good food in and water, and do, move your body. But in everything, when I start to feel like that the world's a little bit out of control, or I don't know what to do, I always come back to just love myself, and hold, oh, wow, this is hard for me. Hold that space for myself, right? Be present. Think about what have I been saying to myself about this situation, right? What could I say now? Like, what would I always think, if I'm not sure, what would I say to my good friend through this?
Perfect. Oh, that's perfect. I'll use that. I have to say that the self-talk, there were other people in the past that it talked about self-talk, but your book is one of the only ones I've ever heard of that combined self-talk with sensitives. And the sensitive has, because of their perception of reality, and they have access to more frequencies or emotions in the field, or information in general, they have a little bit harder, I think, because they've got more information coming at them. It's not just the television blaring with the news, it's the television and everyone's feelings in that room that you are aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, yes, that's really true. But also, we do have access to those energies that are harsher and more difficult. But we also have, I'm going to say easier access, but at least access, fair access to all the other energies too, right?
Right.
Instead of the healing power of nature, of love, of unconditional love, because we can heal so quickly. Once you start putting in these words of kindness inside, right, yourself, these words of love and support, you transform really quick. That's one thing we change. We learn quickly, right? We change quickly. We transform and grow quickly, right? Once we start to really tune into something, because we can feel how good it feels. We feel the truth of like how fantastic that is to be relaxed. Oh my God, like for sensitives, that's such a gift, right? To have peace of mind, like to feel at ease in your body and on this planet. So once you start to get a little taste of that, you're like, give me more of this stuff, right?
Yes, it's nectar of the gods. Well, the thing is too that because we're aware of frequency, we have the capacity to change the frequency in our families, in our communities, in our groups, where we're aware of when it might not be high, and then we can transmute. It's not like that negative energy goes anywhere, but we can transmute that and be a lighthouse in a group or in your family.
Yeah.
And, do you want to talk about that as far as being highly sensitive in a family and to the self-talk? Because a lot of people are like you, they're in a like sandwich generation where you have your parent, your mother, and your daughter. You have you and your husband. So you got two other generations and then your life.
Yes.
And they call that the sandwich.
That's right. Well, it's very interesting, our family, because my daughter is very sensitive. And so she knows exactly who she is, right? So from when she was a small, from a baby, it was obvious. And so I've always talked to her about it. I remember she would come out of preschool. She would go part-time and she would go straight to sit in a bush. She would just sit in a bush. And other kids sometimes would ask her, "Would you want to play with us?" They'd be running around the yard still, like having a great, and she would sit in the, and I said, the BM was concerned, like, should we go home? Like, why? No, she just wanted to sit there for a while, and she would, do what she needed to do to come back into herself. And I'm saying a bush because it was like a cement play yard, but there was a bush, and she would sit really in it.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this girl knows what she needs in a way, right? So the beauty about mothering and parenting a child that's sensitive when you're sensitive is, right? And you're also very aware of like, wow, when my energy starts to go off, I have a huge effect on her, right? This whole thing of saying, if I say everything's fine and it's not, she knows. So I might as well tell her, but in a way that's appropriate to her age, right? Like that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little tense right now because we've got to do this, but I'm okay, right? But I just want you to know I'm a little bit tense, and maybe you're feeling a little bit stressed too, but that's okay. This is, we're going to manage the situation. But when I pretend that I'm not feeling something, that throws her off even more, because the one thing that sensitives is difficult for us is when, someone's saying no, but it's a yes. Right? That's a bit crazy making when you're small, right? Because you want to trust your parents, but at the same time, you're like, well, but this is what I feel.
Right.
And then my mom's really not sensitive. She's completely the opposite, right? So she doesn't sometimes realize how my daughter and I will feel things and experience things. But now I know who I am, so I can talk to her about that, right? And my husband's not sensitive at all, too, but he's a very calm man. He's a very calm man. So around him most of the time, it calms me to be around him. So it's a very interesting dynamic to think, but one thing that I've stopped trying to do most of the time is I will explain to someone that I'm highly sensitive, or I'll talk to my husband. Well, I'll explain what's happening with our daughter. She's highly sensitive and this is what may be going on. And, but I don't try to convince anybody anymore.
Yes.
Right? I don't try to convince. I just say my truth and what I have to say, because I feel so confident now that this is who we are. This is what we're like. This is what we need. This is how we thrive, because there's some conditions under which we thrive way more than others, right?
Right.
We're not billy goats that you can throw us in a lot. And I mean, we'll adapt and we'll survive, but we're not going to really have our best life,
No.
right?
No. Right.
So to think about what I want to create, and also to always go back to myself, like you said, when things start to happen, I'll go back to myself. Okay, go back to your energy, go back to your love, right? Open your heart, be present, and to remember how important that is to just with an open heart be present, right? What a
Beautiful.
difference you can make in that. Just to be. Sometimes I'll open my heart and I'll breathe and I'll go to my daughter's room when she's sleeping, and when I'm feeling very relaxed, and I think I'm just going to bring a beautiful energy into this room. So sensitives, if they can remember how important they are, because we're built to be able to do this,
Right.
right? And how important it is to be the lighthouse, right?
Right.
Other people are wired in different ways that they can contribute in other ways to the building this, the creation of this new world. But
Right.
we have our special gift to honor that, to be excited, and to know it's really powerful. It's really powerful to be a lighthouse. It's really powerful to do everything you can so you can be centered in your body, connected to your self-love. That's an inexhaustible source of energy, right?
Right. Right.
And once you have that, it's always yours.
That's perfect. That's
Right?
perfect. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think that's the a big part of what the message that we want to share is that everyone has the capacity to be sensitive like this, and everyone needs this self-talk. It's particularly important for people that are highly sensitive like us, but it's important for everyone, because we live in a paradigm right now that's we're evolving to a higher frequency, a higher kind of human, and eventually we will be telepathic. And if you're sensitive, we almost already are. We in some ways we are. We read the situation. We read. We can read and understand others without them speaking. But for us to go from where we are now, where 20% of the population worldwide is highly sensitive, to maybe 50% and then 100%, that means we're ready to be using telepathy, which is what you're kind of doing with your daughter. You don't always have to say what you could always just project energy, and she would get it.
Yeah.
And that's what our future is as a species. That's our evolution.
Yeah, that it makes me want to continue doing this work,
Of
to
course.
think that one day we will all have the ability to do this, as I'm working on my skills and getting more and more excited about what sensitives can do, and to think that 50%, what will the world be like?
Oh,
50, 100, and then 100%, like this fantastic new world. And you're right too, that we respond really well to self-talk, to positive and loving self-talk. We really respond really easily to it, right?
right,
It can start shifting things in us pretty quickly.
right, right.
Yeah, and also the wonderful thing about self-talk is you don't have to wait for anything to happen or anyone to give you anything or learn anything. We all know how to talk, right? We all know words. We all know what it feels like, or when a good friend gives us some kindness, shows kindness to us. So this is something we can start to apply to ourselves really quickly.
Right, right. I'm seeing this self-talk as a big part of our this phase, because I think that um, the outside's getting more and more confusing. It's so full of polarity, and the center part is where we want to be. We don't want to be in the contrast of happy, sad, right, wrong, all of that polarity
Yeah.
that really is causing. That's what we've been doing for thousands of years, and I mean, astrologically, we are going into the age of Aquarius, which is peace and love. And so we've got a big job to go from how we are right now, which is this, to this peace and love that's your grandchildren's. Your grandchildren are gonna
Pretty.
live in that gesundheit. And so that's where your work with self-love, it could help everyone. Any age would benefit.
Oh, thank you. I well, I can not only go back again to how it's changed my life to be able to. I know when my self-talk is off too because I try to control the outside way more. Right? Like I'm hyper vigilant and I'm saying, what else can I do? And what do we need to change on the outside? And, as opposed to things coming from inside and then reaching out, right? And then transforming like that. So I go more and more when I realize I'm trying to control the outside world. And like you said, there's so much you could not control right now, right? There's so much that's going on that I try to really go back to myself and how I would like to be and what I'd like to introduce in the world and in my life and in my family and in myself. So so it's pretty apparent to me when I go back to focusing outside. I'm not calm anymore. And as I keep going back to the inside, I keep feeling that, okay, I'm ready again, right?
That's
Right?
beautiful.
You recharge, you recenter, you get calm again, you calm your nervous system. Because that's one thing sensitives have too, though, we can get overwhelmed.
Right.
So much information is coming in at all times, right?
Right.
You're noticing way more than other people are. So sometimes I can feel my brain, like I used to call it when my mother would drag me to a mall, like I'd get mall head, really fast. And she'd want to keep shopping. And I was trying to, she'd get upset at me because I'd want to leave. And when I start to feel mall head in my life, that's when I know, like, oh, okay, right at this second, I've reached about the limit of what I can handle with grace and with calm and staying in my power of self-love. And so if I can, as quickly as I can, I take time alone, right? When I start to feel that, if I can at that moment, I soldier on. But if there's any opportunity for me to just go to my room and shut the door, or go into my office by myself, do techniques. We all have our favorite techniques to calm our systems, right? Whether it's deep breathing, or earthing, going to sit by a tree, or all kinds of techniques, having a bath, going for a run, right? We all have our favorites. Now I do it as quickly as possible because I know no good comes when I start to get overwhelmed. I'm not in my power anymore, right? I'm kind of disconnected, and I can function really well like that. I mean, in terms, not how I feel inside, but I can get things done like that. But it costs me something, right?
Yes.
And I'm not fully as powerful as I could be when I'm like that, right?
Yeah, I remember what I would do if I was out like that is I ended up in the bathroom. And then I could get centered again and release. It's almost like there's cords attached
Yeah.
to you from other people's energies, and you just release all of that and let it go, and then get back into you, and then you can be happy. But if you can't even take that little minute break, it is hard. Are you seeing, when you were teaching at university, were you seeing a lot of sensitives there? Do you feel like it's the new generations coming in or more sensitive?
Yeah, I did. And they were much more comfortable with it. They were way more comfortable being who they were. But when I started putting words for them, high sensitive, when they love that. Wow. So many of them, that's who I am. But they seem to have more ease already around that, right? About, being in a new world and a new generation, being different. And so, but I was excited by that. And you could tell right away the kids in the class, right? They wanted to connect with me. They wanted to connect with the teacher. They wanted to connect with each other. Also the way that their assignments were, it was just really, really different.
Interesting. Okay. So what would you say is what you're seeing for now. Because I really see your books. This particular book, the Sensitive Women book, is just self-talk love for sensitives, ease anxiety and awaken to the gifts of being a highly sensitive woman. Is a new book that you just put out, and it's an Amazon best-selling book, and people are loving it because of the time we're in. We are in so much fear, and easing anxiety and being centered in who you are is so important.
Yes, yes. Well, this time has really made all of us have to dig deeper, right? When you realize when the outside is changing so quickly, there's only one place that you can really have any like peace and full connection and love, and that's inside. So I know for me, it's made me dig a lot deeper all the time, every day, right? And also to be diligent about it. To say, at this time, I really need to, the game is on now, right? Like,
That's what I say. Game on.
the game's on now. So the book came to me. I had started the draft early, but it was really during this time that I was like, I often write what I need to read, right? What I want to read, what would excite me to read right now. So it really came that way to me. I was like, wow, this is, as a sensitive, this is what I need right now. This is the kind of support. This is the kind of space, because I want it to be a space too. Like, it's a quiet book that you can go in and contemplate. And it's just a bunch of very short stories about being sensitive, or about things I love about sensitives. And I just wanted people to, or women and men too, if they want. But I'm very excited by sensitive men. So I started doing some interviews now with sensitive men, and I just think they're fantastic too.
That's great.
Yeah. So I wanted it to be really a space where right now you can go and take some refuge, and you can go and take some time to celebrate who you are. Maybe learn a few tricks about self-talk, because there's some stuff there's some tricks that you can use to tweak your self-talk that's not difficult to apply, right? They're very simple. And also to think about the fact that, how do you want to be as a sensitive? This is your gift. This is how you're born, right? How do you want to live it? You could decide that. You get to decide that. How do you want to live as a sensitive? So that's why the book, I suddenly felt like this is the book I had to write right now.
Right. I understand. And I'm so glad you did, because I really think it's going to help so many people. And it's not clinical. I always have like a stop feeling when it feels like I've been diagnosed, in some way. But this is really a way for you to sense into your empathic gifts can be so managed in a way to bring you joy and love in your life. And that's what I would love people to get your book to experience, that, because it's easy reading, but each chapter gives you a gift. It's like a little present.
Yeah.
Each gift. Do you want to share maybe one technique or one self-talk process that I don't know if you want to or not, but that would be fun to have people have a taste of it, so that they know how.
Yeah, I'd be really happy. I've got the book right here at all times too. I love it. And well, I think the thing I would like most to say is that we all have kind of a default self-talk. We have a voice inside. It's our default voice, and it's not our fault. However it is, it's not our fault. This is how we're wired, right? It's an old program.
Uh-huh.
And so if you make a mistake, or something goes wrong, or it gets triggered, and it wakes up, and that's the voice that you hear.
Right.
So, but it doesn't have to stay that way.
Yeah.
Right? The more you put in words of kindness and encouragement, the more that voice will shift. So I'd like you to think about it. Let's say you were throwing a dinner party.
Okay.
And you had set a beautiful table, made all this great food. You got dressed in a beautiful dress. You made a real effort, flowers on the table, music, the whole program, right?
Yeah.
And you've got one guest, and she sits there, and the whole time she's criticized. that dress looks tight on you, don't you think? You look a bit tired too. And is the food's okay? It's kind of bland. Is this as good as you could? Imagine how it would make you feel. You've got one guest. This is how she's talking to you. She's the inner critic. She showed up at the dinner, right? Nothing's good enough for her. So the stress of it, to be sitting one-on-one with this person, okay? Now imagine she's still there, but your best friend shows up at the dinner too. Yeah. And she's like, I love what you're wearing, right? Thank you for having me over. I'm so happy to be here with you and for making this food and how lovely to be here. And don't listen to her, okay? You know what she's like. That's always what she's like. She's so nice. Don't even listen to her. You know what she says is not true. She's just worked up. Imagine how it starts to change, right? The atmosphere, the energy, the way you'll react, the way you can start to relax. Someone's got your back, right? And so at the beginning, it can be like that. Your default voice is still there, but you're introducing someone. And we have them inside us, all the voices. It's up to us to start to speak to ourselves with one, right? So we force it at the beginning. No, I think you're great. Don't listen to her. Like you have to really at the beginning put it in. But with time, what happens is that the best friend voice gets stronger and the critic speaks a bit less loud. And the best friend gets stronger. And the critic speaks a little bit less. And sometimes the critic comes up, but now the best friend is onto it. So the best friend shows up right away to protect you and to hold you in that space and to guide you and to love you. So things start to shift like that. As you introduce, it's not even introduce, it's going to give someone a promotion. Because your voice of your best friend, you may never have heard it. Maybe she's speaking in just a whisper. And she's in some part that no one listens to her. You actually say, come on out of the darkness. Come with me. I need you now. Right? You and I, you're going to be my buddy. You're sitting shotgun with me from now on. The critic can be in the backseat telling me I don't know how to drive and I don't know where I'm going. And, I'm a fraud and I'm always messing things up or I don't know what's happening. But my best friend's now shotgun going, you're a good driver. I trust in you. You're going to figure this out and keep going. And I'm here every step of the way. You know what I mean?
I have the visual I get when you say this is that Walt Disney, I don't remember which one of the cartoons it was, but he had an angel and a devil. The person had an angel and a devil on each shoulder. And it's amazing when I've had that experience where I've played around with that. And that's what you're talking about. Best friend is the angel and the devil is that.
Yeah. And if you have some humor about it, because mine is like, but if I can, give it a name sometimes too. Give her a name or him a name, right? And there they are. Like, my daughter has some anxiety and we call that voice that comes up Nanette. Oh, there's Nanette again, right? Nanette's all worked up, right? So if you can get a little bit of humor and more levity and to realize, okay, I'm not this voice. I'm not this critic. It's just a voice that I hear sometimes that pops up, right? But I'm the one who can decide who comes to my dinner party or who gets invited and other will get invited. And I can say to someone, thank you so much, but I think we've heard enough of you for this evening, right? I love you very much. And I know you want to protect me because this critic too is nothing in you is bad, right? But it's like having a 3-year-old throwing a tantrum, making the decisions. Right.
Or the protector mode is always on, and you better not do that. You better. And the thing is our thoughts are, and you are very you're a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza, so you work with the brain. Could you talk about how that work influenced this work too? Because I think that this book is very light and usable, but there is a lot of grounded information in it that could change your life.
Yeah, well, it's important, and I would recommend to everyone to watch Dr. Dispenza's, Dr. Joe's videos or read his books because he explains so well, the science behind it and brain coherence and opening your heart and all the difference that it can make in your life and in your health and in this world. So I would highly recommend it. Like he's so easy to find. For me, how it's really changed is that I've learned ways to open my heart way more. And to be more, and to know when I'm out of coherence, when my brain starts to go, right? So I have the science to think, this is exactly, I could see the image of the video, you know, what's happening to my brain, what's happening to my heart right now, why my system's going like this, why I'm giving these thoughts, why this inner voice is so strong at this moment, or, you know. So I have kind of an idea of how the science works, and I'm not going to try to explain it because he would do a much better job than me. But I know it now, and I keep studying and I keep practicing and I keep studying and practicing so that I have a sense of what's happening with me when my self-talk is negative and when it's off, when it's critical, when it's alarmist, right? And I know what's happening to my brain at that moment, so that so it's really important to me to do something about it.
I think what it's done that I would say for you is that that's where you became self-assured about it. Rather, when you could claim that you were sensitive and not be ashamed of it, but rather proud of it and want to use it, was once you because most of us that are sensitive have had to hide our superpower because it would hurt people. They couldn't understand, and what we would see you wouldn't want to change somebody's experience unless they asked,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
but I think what the now that science is proving metaphysics and the quantum experience that we have as humans, there's an opportunity to bring it into an easy to use form, which is what you've done.
Yeah. Well, that's a big thing I have, right? I've always been in communication. So I've got to take an idea that's complicated, make it simple for people to understand. That's really important with my students. And for me too, that's how I function. Like, take a concept and how do I apply it? I'm always into how do I apply it? How does it work? And like you said, for me, one of the reasons I'm so excited about this book too and so happy with it is that I went years in hiding who I was. Unless I was with a few key people that could get it, I was hiding it, right? Because you want to fit in, and plus you're not really 100% sure what it is. So to go from like hiding to, hey, I'm writing a book about it, and let me have a chat with Kathy about it, and be really excited. And when I meet others, I'm like, oh, look at you, you're sensitive as well, and you're newly sensitive, and welcome to the group. And that feels great. That feels great to stop hiding who you are. For anybody, no matter who they are, when you decide this is who I am, and the only way for me to live is by being me, right? The greatest achievement we can all do is really be ourselves, truly.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That and I truly believe that creative problem solving comes from people being sensitive to the environment, sensitive to the community or the group, and coming up with the best things. Barbara Marx Hubbard would say you pull it out of the field. She called it the field and field of possibilities. So I mean, what we're doing is we actually sense the field. We sense things, and creative problem solving is what is needed right now for us to change into this new humanity that is it's happening. It's a happy ending, everyone. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Maryse, I'm so excited about your new book. It's really a pleasure to read it. I got my Kindle and I read it all the way through, and I haven't got my paper copy yet, but I will. But I want everyone to know about Self-Talk Love for Sensitive Ease, Anxiety, and Awaken to the Gifts of Being a Highly Sensitive Woman. Do you want to show it real quick?
Yes, of course.
Okay, because I don't. Okay, thank you, thank you. Isn't it cool? And it is an Amazon best-selling book now. And Maryse has a website that you can go to. You want to tell everyone the best way to reach you? So that
Yes, just visit selftalklove.com.
isn't that perfect? It's so perfect. And I really do encourage you that if you are a conscious business owner and you're looking for resources, this information could be the perfect thing to bring into your workplace where everyone would benefit from learning how to do proper self-talk, and everyone that's sensitive could really thrive with your book. So thank you so much for writing this, and what a pleasure. What a pleasure it is to know you. Thank you.
Oh, it was such a fun conversation. It was so much fun for me and such a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Kathy.
Oh, sure, sure. Okay, well, we need to sign off. Again, go to selftalklove.com, and I put it in the comments. But please follow what Maryse is doing, because I think you'll benefit in so many ways. Bye-bye.
Bye.